morning and welcome to Marrakech. My name is Caroline and I've been travelling around the gorgeous country of Morocco with my other half Andy for the last couple of weeks. Today we're going to be exploring the city of Marrakech, which is a city of two halves because you've got the gorgeousness of things like the palaces that are really tranquil and very calm, and then you've got the craziness of things like the main square, the souqs and the Medina. So today we're going to be trying to take in as much of both parts as we can. The Riad that we're staying in is right in the heart of the Medina, so it means that we come out of quite an empty alleyway, but then as soon as we're out of that alleyway, we just hit these souqs. Now it's a Friday today, meaning that it's a lot quieter than I think on other days because here it's their holy day, and we've also come out relatively early, so it means that all of the people who like stay in the, I suppose, like package holiday style hotels on the outskirts and come in as a day trip haven't made it in yet. So this is actually a really, really beautiful time to be wandering through them. The first stop that we've come along to is the Bahia Palace, which for me personally I think has got a fascinating history. Back in the 1800s, Moulay Hassan had a slave called Musa, but he rose up through the ranks, and through his importance he obviously earned enough money that allowed for him to build the Riad that we're standing in today. The Riad after his passing grew in size, and so we are also going to go on to explore what is now a palace rather than a Riad, but we'll first of all start by exploring the original building built between the years of 1866 and 1867. Upon Musa's death, his son inherited the relatively modest Riad, and through some very questionable methods upon Hassan's death, he rose to quite a lot of power. With that power and the money that came with it, he then funded for the Riad to be developed into the palace that we are able to see today, and the smaller Riad is one of those additions. The Riad's very typical of what you would expect. It's got an inner courtyard that's a garden. I found out that a dar is when it's just a courtyard. So this makes it a Riad because of the garden, the trees and the plants that are growing in the middle, and it doesn't have a roof over that section. You've got salons opposite one another where it's a very long but narrow room with a very tall ceiling and an incredibly intricate ceiling that's painted and beautifully carved. There's also the cedar wood, which we learned back in Fez that the cedar wood, when it's first installed, tends to be a very light colour, and over time as it weathers it gets darker. It's incredibly busy here, and we were expecting that this palace would be. If you're interested at all in seeing a tour of a Riad where there aren't hundreds of people all going around, we are in fact staying in a Riad, so I will give you guys a link in the corner to that video if you're interested. When the French took control of Morocco in the early 1900s, it was the French who added in the fireplaces in these salons. We were assuming that in order to keep things a little bit warmer, that traditionally rugs would have been placed down on the floor. The Great Courtyard really does live up to its name. It's 30 metres by 50 metres, and the ground is completely made up of either marble or zalige, which is the ceramic Moroccan tiles, and it is stunningly beautiful. Unfortunately though, as we came into the courtyard, we were greeted by a building site fence and quite a bit of restoration works obviously going on. And the reason why I say unfortunately is because 5 years ago we were here in Marrakech and this entire palace was completely shut off to tourists. So I was really really excited about getting to come along to it, and because the entirety of it was shut off 5 years ago, I hadn't expected that they'd need to be doing any more restoration quite so quickly afterwards. It does mean that the council room and the latrines or toilets that are in the far corner are shut off, so we're not able to go and have a nosy inside of them. But in the opposite corner there is a hammam. They've been super general in saying that the rooms around the outside of this courtyard are known as multifunctional rooms, and I think that they've just not wanted to be truly honest about the history and what went on here, because my reading has told me that the concubines, the very many women who were, I suppose, like wives, but they certainly didn't have the high social status that the main wives had, were housed around this courtyard. But as I say, none of the plaques are telling me this. This is just reading that I've done online, so do let me know in those comments below if I'm wrong with my research. These have definitely got to be the most impressive Riad gardens that we've seen in our travels to Morocco. The other thing that I love about this Riad is the stained glass windows that are above the doors. My understanding is that this is the first place that stained glass came to within Northern Africa.
That's definitely worth a visit. There were a lot of tour groups in there, so I would suggest getting there quite early. It was lovely and cool, so definitely a place to visit if you want to get out of the heat of the day. Probably the only downside was there wasn't too much information about the history of the palace. It was very much observational in terms of there are mosaics and there are wood carvings, but it didn't really tell you more about what they were trying to signify. So I think if you are more interested in the history and explanations around the mosaics and the wood carvings, I think a tour guide would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, or do your research before you go in. But having travelled around a fair bit of Morocco already, and having gone into similar style places in the likes of Meknes, Fez for example, it just felt like it was the same thing over and over again. There's zalige, there's marble, there's cedarwood, and
yes, yeah.
It wasn't specific to that particular palace.
No, but there are a few places where there are inscriptions of sort of very fancy Arabic, and based on some of the previous palaces we've been to, they signify stories. So again, that'd be something the tour guide could possibly help, if they can read it, explain what the stories are.
And it's also probably worth noting that it's 70 dirhams for an adult if you are a foreigner, but if you are a Moroccan it's only 10. And one of the things that we were a bit confused about is because it's saying it's 70 dirhams for an adult, and then I think it was what, like 30, 35 for a child, and then underneath where they've got the Moroccan price, it starts by saying it's 5 dirhams and then 10. And you pointed out to me
with Arabic it reads the opposite way to Latin languages, and sometimes you notice it on restaurant menus. Often our in terms of English and Latin will be on the right hand side, not in Arabic they'll be on the left hand side of the page.
Well, we've now come across to a cafe that's really highly rated on TripAdvisor. We just got up the app to find out what was good, and it's just around the corner from the palace. It's called Mazel. I think it might be Jewish inspired because the Jewish quarter is literally just on the other side of the palace. And yeah, we're going to go with something that isn't really very typically Moroccan, and I've picked up this coffee which is made with condensed milk. I think it's going to be so sweet. You would hate this.
I might like it.
The food at lunch was fantastic. I'd ordered the lamb pitta, and it was a slow cooked, I think braised lamb shank, and for the 55 dirhams that I paid it was an absolute bargain. But one thing that I did pick up on is that drinks are a little bit on the expensive side, so whilst I was a little bit envious of Andy's orange juice, we're going to head over to the main square now and hopefully we can get some fruit juices for just a slightly better price. I love how they're redoing the cobbled streets, and instead of closing it off, they're just like, yeah, just walk around where we're working. Motorcyclists coming through too. I love the craziness of it. That gentleman over there. And you've got this gentleman over here, and I feel like it's the fish market in Casablanca all over again. To make it fair, we do heads or tails again.
Yes, yes.
Coin flip, yeah? Yeah, coin flip? Yeah. Right, whose head? Your head. Your tail. No, his head.
Yes, okay.
Alright. Tails. So, tails. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
And what's up?
Oh,
Sunny lounge. Hey, man, you want to get
Oh, that's really good. Do you want to try a bit? Ah, what would you rather, that or the orange that we were planning on getting?
Oh, probably this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
UK. London.
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 Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
This is London.